Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. And welcome to this exciting session of South by Southwest, hosted by UK House. And me, I'm Joe White. I'm the UK's Tech Envoy to the United States, a new exciting role. But this isn't about me, this is about exciting UK companies. So I have with me today, Will Jackson, who is the founder and chief exec of Engineered Arts, which is a UK-based robotics company. Will is standing here with one of his finest creations, Cleo the robot. So Will, perhaps you could introduce yourself and introduce Cleo, or the other way around, whichever works.
I'll introduce myself. So yeah, as you said, Joe, I'm the founder of Engineered Arts and one of its directors. We've been working on humanoids for about 15 years now. Cleo is one of our latest. This kind of robot is designed either to be skinned, actually this one has skinned hands, or to appear in her more robot-y form. Typical applications for this kind of technology: recreating famous characters, basically creating that experience of being up close with somebody, you know, something in the physical world. The willing suspension of disbelief, if you will, but in 3D rather than 2D. That's the way I like to think about it.
That sounds great. I think we could all do with ways of replacing ourselves and to get more time out. I think perhaps the Cleo could be the next UK Tech Envoy to the United States. I think we would replace these pesky humans.
But guaranteed COVID proof.
Well, exactly. There's many advantages, I'm sure. So you have a background originally in live theatre and entertainment. So why has that made Mesmer, these robot classes different from the, other types of robots we see?
Yeah, so humanoid robots are very much about communication. So the reason to build a robot in human form is for that human interaction. As you mentioned, my background's arts entertainment. I spent quite a few years working in advertising, props and models, film effects and that kind of thing. I also think the Star Wars analogy is a good one. So we had C-3PO, the very humanoid robot that is just designed for being with people, translating. And then there's R2-D2, the little dustbin-shaped robot that's a utility device, doesn't speak, does useful things like fly X-wing fighters and mend things. So most of the robots we're familiar with in everyday life are more utility things. So I would class your dishwasher in your home, if you have one, as a utility robot. Humanoid robots, I don't think we'll ever see them as washing your dishes in your house because they're not actually that great at it. Where they really come into their own is expression, performance, engaging with people. So yeah, that's what they're about.
And I love this particularly from, the UK obviously has a great history of special effects and film and entertainment and so on, and increasingly technology. And the sophistication of this robot in terms of the mechanics and the expressiveness, and you're starting to integrate elements of AI and all those elements to it. Can you tell us a bit about that piece of it, how it's got to where it is today?
Yeah, so robotics is a big challenge because it's really an integration task. So it's putting all those things together. So you mentioned mechanics, you mentioned AI. One of the biggest challenges we had as a company was the kind of framework, the glue to hold all of that together. And that's actually something that we put a lot of effort into, just the software side. So you can make great mechanics, but without great software, it doesn't come to life. So at the moment she's looking around for faces. I think she just spotted me. So we have some face tracking. She'll mimic, she'll copy my facial expressions. All of that, the kind of AI functions, we're not specifically an AI company, but we have to integrate all of those. So it's about putting all of that together.
And you talk about the software controls. I've had a bit of a play with Cleo earlier, and it's pretty simple to get that up and running. Well, why is that control interface? Why do you think that's so important for people to be able to do easily?
I think what we want to do with our technology is enable creative people to use it. We don't want people to have to be a programmer. We don't want you to have to be super tech to be able to use this technology. So we're trying to build software tools that make that intuitive to enable the kind of creative possibilities. So you might be building theatre shows, you might be doing music stage shows, you might be doing corporate presentations is something we've done quite a lot of. But we just want to make the tools very, very simple and straightforward. The ultimate goal would be I can just talk to the robot like I could talk to a human, just explain, hey, Cleo, you know, we're going to do this show with Joe, and I just want you to kind of that would be the absolute ultimate. We're not there yet. I can't direct the robot as if she was just an actress or another person. But maybe with some more AI development, we'll get there. We have tried some things like that, like keywords, you know, wave your hand, something like that. And maybe she will, or maybe she won't.
Because you've got you know, some of these robots installed in entertainment environments. They're used within theatre and film production. Do you want to talk a little bit about where they're used at the moment, or
yeah, so kind of three main areas. So theme parks and kind of visitor attractions, so recreating either historical characters or famous characters. So we've done quite a bit of work with Madame Tussauds. Also several attractions in India, creating historical characters there. The 10th Prime Minister of India we did recently. Another application area is just in pure research, which surprised me actually. We had an approach quite a few years ago now, about 8-10 years ago, from a university, and said we'd really just love to use this robot for our own experimentation. And we said, well, the API, the programming interface is all open. You can go ahead. And we were actually quite surprised. They actually did some a theatre piece with it, which we weren't expecting, which we then later got to see. So you kind of create these things and put them out, and then quite unusual things can happen. And I also made another application area is just communication, and quite often corporate type of environment. So PwC actually used some of our robots for presenting about accounting. Nothing better than a robot to liven up a show.
Especially accounting. Maybe one day they'll be able to do that for you, and PwC should be worried about that, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's fascinating when you create something like this and you put it into the world, as you say, and sometimes the applications people use for it are almost unexpected to you as the creator. When we were talking a bit earlier, you talked, you've even been approached by some celebs or famous people to potentially create versions of them.
We have had that one. I think the most unusual request I've had is they shall remain nameless, but a certain person visited and showed me a video of a brain being cut out, a real brain being cut out of a live animal, which was very shocking, and then floated the idea that they would like their brain installed in a robot on their passing. Basically, this was an idea for extending their life. I did point out that I think the experience probably wouldn't be quite the same as being alive, and we didn't really know how to do it at all. I think that's one of the strangest requests we've ever had. Creating likenesses of people is much more common one. So we have a kind of process that involves photogrammetry. So that's multiple cameras in a rig where we create a 3D model of a living person. If we're doing a historical character, we'll obviously try and find somebody who's a close match, and then maybe rework that. Actually, when we did, I mentioned Dr. Kalam earlier. There was actually he was, I think, an investment banker in London, but happened to be a very, very close lookalike. He came down and we scanned him in our studio, and it was amazing actually how little we had to do to that scan to transform him. So that's kind of the process.
No, it sounds amazing. I'll certainly have to come back to you to get one for myself at some stage. But and what do you think? When you imagine a world where this becomes more available and more accessible to people, if everybody could have access to this kind of robotics control, how do you what do you see would be possible for?
I think the things you'll see first are the commercial applications, because robots are mechanically complex. There's a lot of technology there. They're expensive to build. So the kind of experiences where they make sense are the kind of one-to-many. So if my one robot can interact with 10,000 people in a day, and maybe only for a few seconds with each, but they get some value and benefit, entertainment out of it, then that proposition works really well. So I think commercial environments like, visitor attractions, shopping centers, sports complex, airports, anywhere where you've got a crowd of people, I think you'll start to see more and more robots. And you may have noticed, I've seen them pop up in airports already, is sort of back projected characters that you start to see around now. And I think that's the kind of tip of the iceberg. That's the beginning of this. I think it'll be a very long time, and maybe never at all, before we see them in our homes, because the economics of that are quite hard to work out. I always like to think that the robot in your home, it won't be a robot in your home will be the robot. So I think the move is on the domestic side, it's going to be much more to do with smart appliances, lighting, security, all those kind of things that we're seeing emerging now, and those will integrate together. So your home will be the robot. There won't be a robot in your home. That's my guess.
I think it's going to be. It's going to be a fascinating evolution. One thing would be great to touch on is your experience of building this company in the UK and in Cornwall. I love Cornwall. My dad's from Cornwall. I'm down there relatively often in non-COVID times. But how has the UK ecosystem been of benefit to building out this type of company there? Yeah,
so I think one of the, I'm from the UK art school background. And I think you'll find a lot of creative people in the music industry are from that background. I heard more than 80% in one survey. So we have this fantastic creative educational system. And sort of, I was lucky enough that I was given the freedom to use technology and work within that creative environment. And there are other people key in this company have come from a similar kind of background in film, entertainment, production. So whether they have a really good understanding of the technical challenges, that side of it, but they also understand the creative. And I think that's something that's really strong in the UK, that we have that combination with, we have a vision and we know how to realize it. And I think that's a product of kind of UK culture, and also probably the education system as well.
Yeah, and you've tapped into the engineering side of it as well, I guess, in terms of the UK has a strong engineering tradition. What's the balance of your team between sort of creatives and engineers and programmers, just to get a?
I guess it's about 50-50, but I think I don't like to draw heavy lines. So I always say that I think technology, art, science, these are great library classifications, and they're a really good way of sorting books, but they're not really a good way of sorting people. So in the real world, you find that there's much more of a continuum. So you find some engineers that are just inherently creative, and you find some creatives that are actually very, very good technically. So there's this kind of span. So, but if I look at just pure job titles within the company, so there's software engineering, embedded engineering, then there's three-dimensional design, graphic design, digital sculpting. So just job title split, I'd say yes, about 50-50.
Great, and this is something that you're already selling all over the world. You've got robots installed in a bunch of different places. How do you see that part of your strategy? Is the international market increasingly important for you?
It's definitely. The international market has been traditionally sort of 90-95% of our sales. So I think last time I counted, we had robots in 27 countries. Mesmer robots like Cleo here are very, very new. There are only a handful of these robots in existence at the moment. This is our big push for this year, 2021. The experience economy has taken a real beating from COVID. We all know that. live events, live attractions just haven't been happening. I do feel like there's a lot of pent up demand though. People are wanting to get out again, wanting those experiences back. You know, I think people have substituted sort of consumption. So everybody's run out and bought barbecues and things like that have all been in short supply. But really, they want to go to a concert, they want to hear a band, they want to go to the theatre. And I think we're going to see a big bounce back to that in the second half of this year, I hope, and certainly going into 2022.
Yeah, well, I think the Cleo seems the perfect South by Southwest robot in terms of the mixture of you know, performance and technology. You can have a Cleo band that can come back and perform, I think, next year as the
would love to do that.
You like.
Yeah, would love to do that.
So how long does it take to actually build one of these robots?
We tend to build in batches. If I were just to build one from scratch, if we were just to do one on our own, I'd say about 6 months. But usually we actually have a lot of the parts. So typically, if a customer comes to us and says, "I want one of these," the lead time is about 12 weeks. So we try to get that down shorter, because in that kind of arts entertainment space, certainly in the advertising space, people don't have that kind of lead time. They don't want to wait 6 months. They generally want it next week. So we're trying to really shorten that. And one way of doing that is making a very modular system. So like these arms, a head, everything on this robot is modular. So we can basically just go into the drawer and, okay, we're going to need some long arms and a female head, and we need a short body or a long body, and we can just put that together very quickly. The very time consuming part, this robot, without her skin at the moment, but creating that skin still requires a lot of creative input. So you've got the scanning process and then the digital sculpting, and that's what adds the 12 weeks.
That's great. We've got a few questions coming in. Somebody said, can anyone buy one of these robots?
Can anyone buy one? Yes, you can. I will tell you, we've never sold a robot to a domestic customer. So it's generally a business-to-business proposition. That's not because domestic customers are banned, but generally you would have to have quite deep pockets for that, and either a very keen interest to do that. But so much more typically, it's like science centers, museums, theme parks, that kind of attraction that would buy them.
Well, I think certainly in the tech industry there are a few deep pockets around. So hopefully there's a few folk who are thinking, I need one of these for my house or office or whatever. Someone else is asking, does the mechanics look pretty complex? Does Cleo have a lifespan at all? I mean, is wear and tear an issue?
Yeah, anything mechanical will break down. That's just a given. You know, we all know that. We own cars. Cars, even a new car, breaks down. So the real question is, you know, how quick is it to repair, and how quick can you get back up and running, and will you notice? So a robot like this is about experience, and that's basically what we're selling. So we really don't want to put something into a space that has, you know, poor reliability or poor serviceability. So it is mechanically complex. Is it hard to fix? No. And there's a remote diagnostic system built in. So the first thing that we know about what's wrong with your robot before you probably know, provided we've been given access. So we can graph everything in real time, every motor, every sensor on the robot. Streams over the web, and we have a remote interface where we can see, okay, looks like we have an issue here, issue there. Usually small issues you can resolve remotely. And then if you can't, it's designed, generally if I press one button on the back of the head, I can take the head off, put another one on. So we aren't quite at the point of human self-repairing yet. That's very hard to compete with nature. But we've done a lot of work on the mechanical reliability and making the tech very robust.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm sure everyone would like to see pull the head on and off, but perhaps not.
There is a video on YouTube if you want to see it.
So someone else asks, in terms of international sales of these things, have you seen any cultural differences in terms of, I guess, comfort with robots, or more desire to have them in different environments? I mean, what have you seen from that?
Yeah, there's a very definite cultural divide. So, skinned and lifelike robots in Japan, for example, are just a given. It's very normal, and we're actually quite friendly with there's Kokoro Dream in Tokyo who make Actroid and other humanoid robots, and I was talking with them and saying, oh, we should do this kind of shocking show about these realistic humanoids, and they just stared at me and sort of go, well, like, why is that shocking? You know, so the kind of cultural expectation definitely in Japan is very different. It's also different in China. There can be quite a sort of, oh, yuck, creepy kind of response that you might get in Europe and maybe in the US. But generally, I think there's a kind of fascination. When you recreate a human mechanically, people, they love to pull it to bits. They love to go, oh, it's not like me because. And that's kind of exposing what it is to be human, I think. So there's kind of a deep philosophical part there, which I quite enjoy. Yeah, so definitely there are very strong cultural variations.
No, it must be fascinating to see the evolution of levels of comfort with it. Someone else is asking about intellectual property. I mean, is that something that particularly concerns you? You know, shipping these things around the world, or you're manufacturing those presumably in the UK in the most part?
Yeah, we do. There are IP issues, and you always you kind of worry. You can get, it's a kind of mental trap though, because you can get into this point of, oh, I'm not sending a robot to XYZ because they might infringe your IP. In the end, I think it's generally better to get your products out, and you do what you can to patent and protect. Generally, I think if the technology is very good and you're leading the field in an area, that people will come back to you, even if there are cheaper copies made. If the original is still the best, I think that's the best way to protect your IP. I heard a really nice story actually from Kokoro, who make a lot of dinosaurs, and they had suddenly the market was flooded with imitations, and the imitations didn't last as well. And they actually picked up a lot of customers after about 2 years because they came back and said, actually, they didn't work very well. Can we actually buy the original from you? So you know, you play a slightly long game and more philosophical approach, and just try and focus on quality, I think, and the value add that you can bring to the product as a company, I think is very important.
I'm sure that's right. I mean, the counterfeit as a marketing strategy, as people sell bad versions of your product, allowing you to come in later, sounds like a good one. Look, Will, it's been fascinating talking to you and meeting Cleo as well. And I could talk for hours to both of you about this. And we've hogged the mic and haven't heard from her as much as we could have done. But next time. So it's a pleasure to meet you both. I wonder whether she's able to wave goodbye or wrap up the session for you. But thank you so much, Will. It's been a pleasure to chat. And there we go, as if on cue.
Great. Thanks for talking to us, Joe. And really exciting to have been part of South by Southwest.
No, it's great to see you here, and look forward to welcoming you back in future.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will.